Yeah.
Hi, I'm Peter Carney from cityfoodgrowers.com.au. I'm in my garden in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, and it's a few days before winter, still in our beautiful climate. It's about 18 degrees at the moment in the afternoon, and I'm standing in one of our gardens in front of Rosella plants. It's a little noisy here, so sorry about the road is right behind us, but I'll talk loudly. So I'll be talking about growing rosellas, and these beautiful plants here with the red flowers are rosella plants, and they grow in subtropical and tropical climates. In temperate climates, they really need to grow in the hot part of the year. In our subtropical climate here, these plants were all put in about January, which is our hot, wet season, and now we're in approaching June, so they've been in for 5.5 months. And they grow to a bush of, about 1.5 meters, sometimes 2 meters high, and produce these beautiful flowers and leaves. And the flowers are edible as well as the leaves. The leaves really taste exactly the same as the flowers. And so I'll pull one of these flowers off and I'll show you. This is the red flower, and what is eaten are the fronds of the flower. That red material there is what is eaten. And you can eat it just like this. It's a really refreshing flavour, but it's commonly used as a jam, and it's a really beautiful jam. And I will be putting another movie on our YouTube channel about making rosella jam, because it's a fabulous jam to make, incredibly sweet. But this movie was more about growing these wonderful plants. So we planted these rosella plants, as I said earlier, in our wet season, and they were surrounded by green manure crops fertilizing this soil. So there's a principle there in getting them started, is to make sure you start them in nice healthy soil, and they need plenty of moisture to get moving. And that was through our wet season. So if you're going to plant them, make sure there's good moisture. In the subtropical and tropical climates, not a problem. In the temperate climates, in your hot season, that's usually dry. So if you're going to plant rosellas in a temperate climate, make sure you give them lots of water. So they'll grow progressively, and then they produce an amazing amount of flowers. I mean, out of this one bush here, we would have harvested kilos and kilos of these flowers, and we have, I think, about 20 to 30 bushes in our garden here, and we would have harvested perhaps 30 to 40 kilos of these flowers, which, hey, one flower is a couple of grams, or maybe 5 or 6 grams, so you can imagine how many flowers that is. So we've produced a lot of jam, and lots of people have bought these in bags to eat. So quite easy to grow, not much attacks them. These leaves here, these plants are getting a little bit old now, and we're going to be harvesting off these plants shortly, and most of the flowers are quite big. And when they're this kind of size, they're ready to harvest. When you harvest them, it's often good to use a pair of scissors to cut the fruit off, so that you don't actually damage. I need some scissors. So that you don't damage these slender stalks. See, here's a small one coming on there, so that's still got to grow, whereas these ones are all ready to harvest. So we'll be having a big harvest of these plants in the next couple of days to make the jam. The spacing around these plants should be around a metre, because they grow quite big, and you could be growing leafy plants underneath them like lettuces, because their foliage is not that dense, so they still let light through, but in a hot climate they'd provide enough shade to help you with growing any leafy crops like lettuces in the warm season that tend to not like too much hot. So watering them, they do need quite a bit of water as they kick on and get bigger, but once their roots get down a reasonable level, they don't need so much water. So I think quite easy plants to grow, reasonably robust, and produce a massive amount of flowers which can be edible, and the leaves which you use in tea. That's another thing. These fronds, not only can they be used in jams, but they can also be used in a tea or in a cordial. So great plants to grow. So there's a lot more growing information on these in our Organic Gardener subscriber website at cityfoodgrowers.com.au, as well as lots of content on 300 other food crops and local climate information for all of Australia, New Zealand, the USA and the UK. So thanks for listening. Bye bye. It's Peter Carney.